How's it going, everybody? This is my 79 Camaro that I've been working on the past 3 years, and today it's going to get a whole lot better. We have a big performance upgrade for this car. Now, if you guys noticed, it's only jacked up in the rear, and that's because we have a stock 10-bolt rear end with a 342 gear ratio and leaky axle seals, which have been a problem for a long time. The posi on it is starting to go out, and it's time for an upgrade. So I went ahead and bought myself a Ford 9-inch from Quick Performance, and this thing is sick. It is legit. To start, we have a welded back spine on it, internal gusseting. We had it narrowed a 1/2 inch on each side, 35 spline axles, 411 Eaton True Track. We still went with the drum brakes, had to cut costs a little bit somewhere, so that's where we cut costs. This rear end is capable of holding over 1,000 horsepower. Rear end came in bits and pieces, so we are going to assemble this rear, take the old one out, put this one in. So let's get to work. So I ordered this rear with the internal gusseting. You can see it all in there. And this is gonna be a sick upgrade. It has the thicker wool axle tubes. And first step is going to be to install the studs. We have a table full of parts here. We have new Summit shocks. We have our driven gear oil, new lugs for the bigger studs. We have our Caltracs bars, paint. We have our brakes over here. We have 2-degree wedges just in case the drive shaft angle changes. Energy suspension, bushings for the leaf springs, lube locker gasket. So we have a whole bunch of parts to install into this car. Okay, we have our studs. I'm just gonna put a dab of RTV on this knurl right here so they don't leak. Got the nylocks. We got some washers. I'm gonna put a little grease on them to spin them on, and I got an extra nut here. That way we don't mess up any of the lock nuts when installing these. So let's get to work. Okay, I got all but one stud left to install. And I figured I'll show you my method of my madness. I'm just taking a little RTV and gooping the outside. I'm taking a little grease and hitting the threads quick. And I got that. Then pushing it up through, putting our washers on with our nut with grease on the washers, and just tighten her down. Okay, so we have our Ford 9-inch on the ground. Got myself high tack for our lube locker gasket. So we can just hit this quick. And let that tack up for a couple minutes. The inside of this is all clean and ready for the center section. Okay, so Quick Performance's center sections come in a bucket, and this thing is about 75 pounds, and this thing's probably lodged in there.
You hold the bucket. All right, watch the fingers. Oh!
So once you get it out of the bucket, we're going to clean this surface. We're gonna clean that surface and install it. Gonna plop on our lube locker gasket. Now it's time to put the center section in. So the center section is on. I have a slight gap, but we'll bring that in with the nuts. Lay the washers on there. Put all these nuts on. So we're gonna torque this thing down to 35 foot-pounds. We're going to go crisscross pattern on this just to make sure everything seats down properly. We're all torqued down. These two can't get a socket on it really, so I just went by feel with a wrench. So we're on to the next step. So next we have the seals. Have some sockets to play with. I'm gonna put a thin coat of sealer on this. I know people do it different ways. That's what I heard. Just a very thin coat on there and drive that sucker in. So I'm gonna do that quick. So I have a very thin coat of sealer on this. We're gonna drive her home. So we're about halfway through driving the seal in, and you can see the sealer squishing out very nicely and make a good, nice seal. So let me finish driving this in and we can start moving forward. Okay, so we got both seals in. So I think now, I'm gonna tackle putting the brakes on, and those things just bolt right on. All right, so I have these backing plates ready to go. One thing is that there's a smaller side and a larger side. The smaller side aims to the front of the car. The bigger side aims towards the back of the car. So this would be the passenger side. So we can start bolting this thing on to here. Okay, so we are ready to start. We have these nice T-bolts. So we're getting ready to slide these axles in. One side is a different length. Passenger side is longer than the driver's side. So I'm gonna put a little of gear oil on the splines just to help it slide in a little better. Put some on the outside of the bearing just so it drives in nicely. All right, so the axle is in. I was having a little trouble because the backing plate fits a little tight on the axle, but put the retainer plate in and we can get those washers and nuts in. All right, this rear is pretty much complete. Got the axles in, brakes are on. We can do the brake lines next on this thing. That way we can just throw it in and hook up right to there and be good. Okay, so we have our brake lines that we bent, all nice and neat. And we have these little clamps to hold these brake lines down. All right, so the brake lines are secured, and that's pretty much a wrap on putting together this rear end. This 10 bolt has to come out. So let's start doing that. Okay, so we can start pulling the wheels off this thing. All right, so after a bunch bunch of rusty nuts and bolts. Screw it ready to drop in.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's coming down the Akeke. Yay. So, I can't believe that rear end survived. To be honest with you. The amount of beatings that you put on that rear end with slicks and kind of shocked that it hung in there.
Okay, so we ran a quick clean, and now I'm gonna work on getting these wire wheel down and painted. First, I'm gonna pull these clamshells off. Got it broke free. So now, you should be able to take a little bit of air. And boom. And we're gonna wire wheel this down, get all that rust off, give her a new coat of paint, because that next to that will not work. That's too nice. Getting ready to wire wheel some stuff and get this all ready for paint. Okay, so we have all the parts wire wheeled, and now we're giving everything a quick wipe with lacquer thinner on a rag. And we can shoot this with paint, and this is not a show car. It's just trying to make these parts look decent on the rear end. Okay, so we have the rear covered, we have the car covered for overspray, and we have our Rust-Oleum semi-gloss. Let's shoot this up. Hold your butt up. First coat will be okay, and that'll do it. That's our second coat on our new leaf springs. They look new, right?
They look great.
I can't really, I tried getting in there, but that's the best it's gonna be. Like I said, it's not a show car. It just has to look good from 10 feet away. And I think we completed that. So that is it for tonight. We'll get back at it tomorrow. Okay, so it's currently a day later. Yesterday, didn't get much done, but I got some stuff done, so let me show you. So I took it upon myself to wire wheel any rust under here and shoot it with some paint. I also taped off the rear because I got to paint the center section, and doing that with it off was not optimal, so we are doing it with it like this. And I have some, using this paint, probably better stuff out there, but this is what I got. So before we install these Caltracs on these leaf springs, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the rear. That way it's drying while I install everything. So let's do that. That first coat was like a light dusting, that way I can get the rest of the paint to stick on it. Start moving forward to get this rear in and done. Okay, and the real fast, the reason why not much got done yesterday is because of these Caltrac bars. When I originally got the Caltracs, they did not send me the bushings in the package. So I called them and asked them to send me bushings, and they did, but they weren't correct. And let me show you what happened. Well, the actual bushing was correct, and I actually ended up installing them, and they are pressed in and all good. Where the trouble was the sleeve. This is the one they sent me. This is the one that is supposed to be in it. And let me show you why, or where the issue is. So if you slide this into the Caltrac bracket, that's not flush, and that's not even flush. And then when you take your clamshell, look at all that space in there. That's not correct. So there's got to be some type of spacer, and there is. And in this bushing pack they gave me, there wasn't even that. In the correct one, the correct sleeve, you should have a shoulder on both sides that you're able to put an aluminum washer on. Like that. That's correct. And then you put your clamshell over it with no space. So be wary of that, and make sure when you put it together everything's correct. Another quick thing is this is the stock leaf spring bolt. Look how loose that fits in this one, and in this one, nice and tight, which is what you want. So yesterday we spent all day trying to track down the correct set of bushings and sleeves, and that's why I didn't get a lot done. But I have all day today to finish this up, or at least get the rear end and measure for a drive shaft. We'd like to give a thank you to Colin over at S&K Speed, because without him, probably wouldn't have figured this out and gotten the right stuff on, a weekend. So I'd like to give him a thank you over at S&K Speed. Colin, you're the man. So we got a heat lamp going, ready for our second coat. Okay, so we're going to install these brackets now for the Caltracs. And I'm just going to put some grease. And you're going to take the bracket, lube your sleeve, and put it on the outside like that. Take your clamshell, okay, so it turns out that the bushings that we installed were actually wrong too, because I put the Caltrac bracket on and the amount of space and slot. So this is the difference between the bushings. So these are actually a bit wider than the ones they sent me. So the whole kit that they sent was actually wrong. I thought the bushings were correct, but now we can actually put this thing together. Okay, so now let's assemble this. So first we're going to remove this, remove the other side, put this bracket on, and slide it through. Then I went ahead and lube the washers. I have to put on our clam shell. Put on our lilac. And that is one side complete. Since I've been messing with this for so long now, pressing the old ones out, pressing the new ones in, I'm just gonna do the other side off camera, that way I can get the ball rolling here and start getting this rear in the car, because that's what I want to do. All right, so both of these springs are ready to go under the car. So let me get those things bolted up in there. I'm gonna bolt the fronts in, slide the rear in, bolt in the back, bolt in the rear. So let's do it. To make my life a little easier, I have the leaf spring on a jack. That way I can bolt the 3 bolts into that clamshell, making my life easy. Okay, so I wire wheeled all the clamshell bolts down, put some sleeves on it, and we are going to get these springs in. Okay, we are doing the last bolt for the front of the leaf springs. And next step is going to be to put new polyurethane bushings in the rear of these springs. So let me get these tightened up. We'll move on to that. This is the little kit I got from Summit with new shackles, new bolts, bushings, little thing of grease. So we are going to see where all these go. I'm pretty sure there's a set for the front, but since we're running the Caltracs, we're using the aluminum bushings. So let's start fitting these in. Okay, so we have all of our bushings, all of our sleeves, and our special grease. So we have the leaf spring right there. And basically we're just gonna take some grease and get the outside nice and gooped. This is really sticky. I'm just gonna slide that in. We'll do the other side quick. I'm also gonna hit the inside of this thing too. I'm gonna do the same thing up here in the back of the car and on the other side. So now that we have that all nice and squished, we are going to take our sleeve, put this sucker in, and just slide that in. And just like that, with gentle persuasion, she is ready. So with that said, let me get all these bushings in and unwrap that rear like a little present and slide this thing under. Okay, so I got the bushings in. Don't mind the rust. So now I'm going to put the hangers, I'm gonna install them just on the top. Leave the bottoms disconnected, that way I could roll the rear in, have it be easier that way. So let me get these hangers in on the top. So before I put the shackles on, I'm going to coat the outside of the bushing with some grease, because that is going to be a main pivot point. Okay, so we have our nice gold shiny shackles in. Let's get this rear unwrapped and rolled under this car. Let's see this rear end all unwrapped. And that is the rear end all unwrapped. So this rear end still needs fluid, and to make it easy on ourselves, we're gonna do it while it's still out. And we have Driven's 80-90 gear oil that I'm gonna use just to break it in, and I'm going to change it, you know, once I break it in and beat on it a little bit, I'll change the oil. So let's get all that fluid in. Okay, she's all juiced up. I put about 3.5 quarts in. Yay, the rear is going in the car. So we got the rear up on jack stands. I'm going to hold the spring up, slide the bolt into the shackle on both sides, and then let the rear down on the springs. And hopefully our drive shaft angle is good and we don't have to use any wedges. Okay, now that the leaf springs are in, we can drop the rear onto the springs and get it mounted to the springs. So I'm gonna paint these drums red. And some people probably won't like that, but that's okay. You'll be able to see the red through the gold rallies. And with the color of the car, I think it'll go good. My last drums were red, but they're pretty much black now. So it'd be good to get some good fresh red paint on the other ones. They're all prepped and ready for paint. Back under the car, I got the U-bolts in, and I put them in just to check the drive shaft angle. Ended up having to run a 2-degree wedge in the rear end to get the angles correct. So now they're already installed, but I'm gonna drop the nuts down and put a little anti-seize in it so everything torques nice and happy. We're gonna go to 65 foot-pounds with these. Okay, it's time to connect the Caltracs together with that bar. First, we're going to start by giving some of these threads some anti-seize. These threads some anti-seize. And I make sure I have the weight of the car on the rear, but I have these jack stands in here just for safety. Go ahead and take this heim joint out. This is left-handed thread, which is always weird. Then you're just gonna keep turning this thing until you got it lined up with the bracket. So maybe that's good. Boom. And you put your little nut back on. And you're gonna adjust this bar to where this plate up here hits the spring, or just barely. Once we get the tires on, we'll really adjust it. But there's barely a gap in there. And that's where we're gonna set it for now and lock everything down. And actually, I'm gonna look up again. I forgot which hole makes the tire hit harder, but I'm gonna set it to whatever that one is. So I'm actually gonna look that up before I tighten everything down. Leading the brakes. Holding. After we torqued down the bottom of the springs and installed the Caltracs, I went ahead and installed the shocks. I put on the drums, bled the brakes. So this is pretty much ready. We just measured for our drive shaft. So we're going to be going to the drive shaft guy tomorrow to get a drive shaft made. And then hopefully we can put the drive shaft in and go ripping.
Drive shaft angles.
Yeah, we checked the drive shaft angles, have a 2-degree wedge, I think I mentioned that. But that'll do it for tonight. So this is day 3 of this. Yeah, we still got to get a drive shaft in it, and then hopefully we can still make it to the track. So we have our Chromoly drive shaft installed, and this thing is able to handle over 1,000 horsepower. So we really have a bulletproof driveline here, ready for more power when we get there. The wheels are going on, and to hold these bad boys on, we have our 1/2 inch by 20 lugs that are 1 inch diameter, or 1 inch socket. And these are gonna look like some NASCAR lugs. Not the new NASCAR, the old NASCAR.
Yeah, the new NASCAR has one big giant Formula One lug nut now.
And that's not,
IndyCar lug nut.
that's not good for looks. Those things are ugly. Really good for pit times, but not good for looks.
That's a long stud.
That looks pretty neat.
does look mean.
So we'll do the other side, get the car back on the ground, and do a baseline for the Caltrac. Okay, with the Caltracs adjusted, we are ready to fire this thing up. We're gonna leave it on the jack and let it build some temperature, and then we'll give it a test drive. We got the Camaro on the road and going for our first test drive, and 100 feet down the road, so far so good. We're gonna take it nice and easy for the first 3 or 4, they say 5 heat cycles, but I really want to kind of step on it. So it's still early in the day, and I'm just gonna baby it around town for the whole day, and it's pretty cold out, so it should cool off pretty quick. We can maybe get, 3 heat cycles in for today, and by the end of the day, get our foot into it. So, update you with anything that seems weird, but so far so good. It's been a couple days later. Did the proper heat break-in cycles for the rear end. So now we're gonna see, what she's got. we weren't able to make it to the track this year, unfortunately. You know, we had some things hang us up. In total, putting the rear end took like a little over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, because we got caught up with the Caltracs situation. The drive shaft took a little longer than we thought. We had some things working against us, but we got some testing in. I'm gonna see if I can tune the car to stick to the road a little better, and we can maybe use the draggy to get a time. When I was doing those test hits, I was leaving a little soft on the car, just trying to make it stick. So I think it has a ton more potential on the launch, but on the roll, this car feels really good. I overbuilt the rear end because I know I'm gonna go with more power. So, you know, that's why I went with the Ford 9-inch instead of building like a 10 bolt or a 12 bolt. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned because soon we're gonna be doing more work to that car.